We have a lot of classic stories out there about knights in shining armor, holding their glistening long swords and going to slay the dragon to protect the princess in the gowns or even in paper bags. Hello there, Lorcana lovelies. I have a deck for you today that is about this classic story of the heroes protecting the princesses against, I guess in this case, your opponents. So I have an infinitely casual deck for you. This infinitely casual in this case meaning infinity format and just super casual. And I thought I would take the time to kind of use my deck building ideas of my Bodyguards deck here to show you kind of like the deck building process and how you how at least I apply a mathematical format to deck building. And thought that, that might be helpful for some people who are looking at all of the cards out there and saying, how do I cut this down to 60? I got a math and a process for you. So first off, when we are building a deck or designing our own deck, we need to be able to ask ourselves a couple questions. First question is, what format is it for? Is it for Infinity? Is it for Core? The next one is, what level of play is it for? Are we playing super casual? Are we playing hyper competitive? Or are we playing somewhere in the middle? The next question is it for multiplayer or 1v1? Now, I know a lot of people just play 1v1. I asked this question to myself because at the Deck Box on Sundays, we play a lot of multiplayer for our Casual Sunday League, so most of my casual decks are for multiplayer. Doesn't mean you can't use it for 1v1, just means I make certain choices because I'm expecting more opponents. And that could be like, I'm going to give all of my opponents cards to not be a target, or it could be I'm not going to give my opponents cards and I'm going to make myself an opponent. Anyways, going on from that, I have an idea of what kind of deck I'm going to be building. We're going to be building a very casual deck that is designed for Infinity format. Next, we need to have a general, I guess, inspiration or concept or something like that for the deck. This could be your favorite ink. It could be your favorite character. It could be a cool mechanic. It could be a neat combination of cards that work together. Whatever inspires you to build a deck and start to eliminate the thousands of cards out there down to 60 cards, or at least a direction to go on that. So my deck is going to be a Bodyguard deck. Or at least I started with simply the idea of making a Bodyguard deck. Bodyguards are an amber steel, which meant that I could just cross out all the colors from the beginning and start making an amber steel list, so I could start just searching amber steel cards. When I did a search for amber steel cards, I came up with like 760 something cards. Now, some of those are duplicates because there's reprints. Some of them are duplicates because there's multiple rarities of some cards. But still, even if we eliminate even like 100 cards, that is still 640 something cards that are possibilities for an amber steel list. I wanted to do Bodyguards, like I said, but I'm not going to make a 60 card list with only Bodyguards in it. I want to be able to have something else. The idea was the Bodyguards were going to protect my high value cards that were potentially going to win me the game or do cool things on their own. So if I knew I wanted Bodyguards, I wanted to find kind of my payoff cards first. I wanted to find the cards to protect. So I did a quick scan through all of these 700 something cards to be able to find the cards or the card mechanics that I wanted to put behind my Bodyguards. And I found myself inspiration in a shoe. So the glass slipper says that you can exert a prince and banish the glass slipper to go and look through your deck for a princess. First off, anything that lets you look for your deck for a specific card is great. Being able to find exactly the card that you want at the time that you need it is a rare one in Lorcana, and it is totally worth, in my opinion, an include. However, in this case, we're looking for princesses. So I want 2 of my glass slippers in my deck, and then I want to go and look for princesses that were going to be good payoff cards. Luckily, princesses are good payoff cards. They either quest for a decent amount of lore, or they do other things, like they have a high enough willpower to survive a good amount of challenges, or they have abilities like their singing abilities, or can challenge rated characters' abilities. Princesses did seem to have, on their own, a good high value payoff. The next thing that I kind of wanted to be able to scan to do there was I needed to be able to figure out if we want to make a aggro deck, a mid-range deck, or a control deck, or I guess a combo deck. This one's definitely not combo. So once we know our archetype, we can apply a general curve format to this to be able to figure out how many cards we want in each ink slot. And that's going to help me eliminate my cards from 700 something down to like the 60 cards that we need. So I'm going to be making a mid-range deck, and a mid-range deck is called that because it kind of peaks in the middle. It's got a couple things to do at the beginning, a couple things to do at the end, a couple of answer cards in the middle, but the vast majority of the cards are kind of like the higher payoff cards in the middle. So with all that in mind, what I did next is I went through all of the cards and I started to build a list. I put one of each card in the list that I thought was going to be a good card, or at least worth considering. So first off, every single bodyguard went into this list. Every single princess went to this list. Every single card that said bodyguard on it, so like songs that gave bodyguard, items that gave me things for bodyguards, so like drawing cards for bodyguards, or even some cards that got me like characters that got me bonuses for bodyguard. All of those went into my beginning list. All of my high value payoff cards went into my list as well. So a couple 1-drops that quest for 2, like say Daisy or Lilo. A couple of the princesses that could do like kind of like the extra things. So like Rapunzel that heals, or Cinderella that looks for the glass slippers. All of those went into a list, and I came up with like 120, 140 cards from that that I liked the idea of, that I wanted to include. From there, now we have to start making eliminations. So step 1, ask yourself the questions, figure out what type of deck you want to build. Step 2, figure out the archetype and the inspiration. Then step 3, come up with all of the cards you could potentially want to play. Now start making cuts. So how do you make cuts? Well, I'm going to apply my ink curve formula to this, and then I'm going to go through each ink slot, and I'm going to cut the cards that are not good enough to make it, until I'm left with the cards in my curve. So if I'm going to apply this, my mid-range curve should have 8 to 10 cards that are at the 1 slot, 8 to 10 cards that are at the 2 slot, 10 to 12 that are at the 3 ink slot, 10 to 12 at the 4 ink slot, 8 to 10, we're starting to go back down at the 5 ink slot, 4 to 6 at the 6 ink slot, and at 7 and above, we're going to put 4 cards. Now, that's my general curve formula. Can you deviate from this? Of course you can. But if you're going to deviate from this, you want to make sure that it's like a conscientious choice that you've made based on the cards being worth including and breaking these general rules, as opposed to just, you needed to throw some cards together. Being able to kind of make the design choice will make your deck a stronger and kind of working better together synergy deck. We have our start. We have a little bit of a fun payoff with the glass slipper and the princesses that can do extra things. We also need to make sure that we have card draw, which I did make sure that I had in the form of Minnie and Rapunzel. And now we kind of go and we start to kind of make, like I said, elimination. So first off, I eliminated Daisy immediately because, we're going to look at our 1 ink slot first. So 8 to 10, 1 ink cards. I can eliminate Daisy right away because Daisy's not a princess. She does quest for 2, which is great, but she's not a princess, and she gives each one of my opponent's cards. And though I like to be generous in multiplayer, I don't want to be generous from turn 1 up. So Daisy got cut. Lilo also got cut, a 1/1 that's not a princess. Though she quests for 2, she's just so fragile, and she's 100% not going to survive in multiplayer, especially not with the princess mechanic kind of not working together with her. So she got cut as well. The princesses that I was left with in my 1-drop slot were Aurora and Cinderella. So Aurora gives me discounts on my princesses, totally worth an include, especially since I'm going to make a princess deck. And Cinderella here. So Cinderella is Singer 3, and that let me justify putting in my 3 costed songs that typically go with along with Cinderella, which we'll get to when we get to that slot. I also had Elanwi. So Elanwi is a princess. She has support. She's a 2/1. She's great that way. However, I did end up cutting her because I got a bigger payoff from the discounts from Aurora, or the singing ability from Cinderella, also the shift ability from Cinderella, that those 2 were the better includes than Elanwi, so Elanwi got cut there. Our 2 ink slot. We're looking at 10 to 12 cards. So I have more than 10 to 12 cards here. And this is an example of why, of how you can totally do more cards. You just need to have a reason for it. So in my 2 costed slot, I did originally have a Rapunzel. Rapunzel's great. Anybody you support, they don't take damage the next time they would take damage. That is awesome, but when I went through the rest of my cards, I had no other support in the deck. So she ended up getting cut because there wasn't enough to go with her synergy-wise. Simba, great card. I am including him because he is a bodyguard, which I want. He's a prince, which I want. 2-3 stat line's pretty good, so Simba's an auto-include. Minnie Mouse is also a great one because Minnie does get me, does let me heal when I play bodyguards, which is what the deck wants to do anyway, so being able to heal is great that way. The prince should go in the deck if you look at him. He's a prince and he's a bodyguard. However, he's uninkable and he's a 0/5. There were better bodyguards than him, namely Simba in this case at this ink, so I ended up cutting him for Simba because if we look at our 2 ink slot, Simba's the better one. I also have the glass slipper, which we said we want to include because that's a cute card. And Rapunzel's Tower, because Rapunzel's Tower is going to make my bodyguards bigger. Now, I was going to include the Pride Lands. The Pride Lands, in theory, is a great card. I move a prince there. My next character costs one less. The discounts are great and totally worth it in this, along with the fact that it does give you bigger boost to your willpower. However, Rapunzel's Tower won out simply because being able to move anybody to it was great, and I didn't have that many expensive cards in this in the end that I needed to get that discount from Pride Lands. So Pride Lands was cut in form for Rapunzel's Tower. Next, we're going to go to our three. So I guess let's count those up there. So we've got 2 minis. We've got 4 Simbas. So that's 6 so far. Let me go back to my actual list. Where is that? 2 minis, 2 Simbas. So that is 6 cards, 7, 8 with a glass slipper, so 11 cards in total with Rapunzel's Tower. That is only 1 over on my ink slot, which isn't that bad. So 1 over on that, which means I need to take from another area. We're going to be able to do that easily. Next is the 3 ink slot, so 10 to 12 in this slot. I have a lot of 3 ink cards just because they're at the 3 ink slot with these parameters that I put on it, Bodyguard, Prince, Princess. There were a lot of cards that were totally worth playing. First off, I have the Aurora Awakening Beauty, so whenever you heal, she readies, whether that means she gets to sing a song, which originally I had A Whole New World in this list that she could sing. She's a singer 5, so if you got 5 songs, she's great to be able to do that with. Plus, she can quest and she can sing a song afterwards. Or if you heal something, she can just stay safe, which is great and totally worth it. I also put Raja in this list. Now, Raja's not a prince and not a princess. Does have Bodyguard, and at the 3 ink slot, it was the only Bodyguard that I really wanted to play. The 3/4 was a lot better than a lot of the other Bodyguards, and so I really wanted to put Raja in there instead because I wanted a Bodyguard at most of my ink slots. I'm also going to be playing Tiana. Tiana is an awesome card. She's going to protect by bodyguard. So when Tiana's exerted, your opponents have to pay 3 extra ink to challenge your characters. So she's just fantastic. I really like her, and she's going to help protect the bodyguards. The bodyguards are going to help protect her. I also put in a Prince Eric because I do want another bodyguard at the slot. The 3 ink is where I want to start to really build up my bodyguards. He's a 3/3. If you like Hercules better, he's the same stat line. You can put him in, but I have Eric. So that is my 3-drop slot, plus we're including all of Cindy's songs, so Strength of Raging Fire and Let the Storm Rage On. So how many is that at my 3 ink slot? Let me count here. I got to look at this a little bit better. So I have 4, 8, 12, 15 characters, and then we have 8 more songs. So that is a lot more cards than I'm supposed to have at my 3 ink slot, which means we're definitely going to have to either eliminate those or we're going to have to take from a future slot. Looking ahead, I knew that there was really nothing I wanted to play at 5, so I was able to take those extra cards that I would have had in my 5-drop slot and include them in my 3-drop slot. At 4 ink, we have the same type of idea, 10 to 12-ish cards. 4 ink, what we had here was my original list had Cinderella, which works with glass slippers, so she was to include, and Rapunzel that heals and draws cards. So in a list like this, especially multiplayer, where probably a lot of people are going to be swinging into my characters, I will probably have damage on my characters to be able to heal up and draw cards with her. Those were the only cards that I included at that slot, so that's 8 cards. So I have the extra slots from 4 to be able to add to that 3-drop one. 5, I have nothing. I have nothing for my 5-drop slot, and my math says I want 8 to 10. So I have plenty of slots to move from my 5-drop slot to my 3-drop slot. Great there. I will say I'm counting Cinderella Stouthearted as a 5-drop slot because I have 8 shift targets for her, so I should be able to shift her in at 5, but we'll talk to her when we get to 7. 6 ink, we have 4 to 6 as my ideal line. I only found Hercules that I wanted. So Hercules is a 6/5 with bodyguard and resist, and he's a prince, so he's great there. Originally, I did have Chief Bogo, which lets me potentially play more cards when a bodyguard dies, and Little John, which pumps up my bodyguards a little bit more. However, they didn't make the cut because they just weren't strong enough compared to the 3-drop slots. They got eliminated in order for the 3-drop characters. And yeah, 7 ink and above, I want 4 cards, and I believe I do have that. We have, or I have a little bit more than that, I guess. I have Cinderella Stouthearted as a 4 of, and I have Prince Charming. So Cinderella, I'm kind of hoping, like I said, to come in at 5. But Cinderella, she is a 7-drop. She is a 5/5. She has resist 2. Those are awesome as is, but she also quests for 3. And when you sing a song or when you play a song, she can challenge ready characters. She's awesome. I also have the Enchanteds, so of course I'm going to play her. Prince Charming is also a really neat one. He's a 3/10 with Bodyguard, so he's a prince and a bodyguard, and he's pretty beefy, so he checks all those boxes to be able to go into the deck. Quest for 2, which is great. He also says that each turn only one character can challenge, so that makes so much better, especially if, in theory, I have him out turned sideways, and I have a Tiana, which means that he's extra protected from that Tiana. Everybody's got to play the 3 extra ink. He's got 10 damage that he can soak up, so he's just kind of great there. So that is kind of the gist of how I eliminated cards to be able to get to my 60 cards. Let's look at my list real quick. So I already went over kind of this. I've got 4 Auroras, 4 Cinderellas to be able to sing songs. I've got 2 minis just because of the bodyguard mechanic synergy there. We've got 4 Simbas and 4 Auroras. Now there's not as... I took out Let the Storm Rage On, but if you were looking for something for Aurora to do after she readies, sorry, not Let the Storm Rage On, A Whole New World. But if you're looking for that, that would be how I might change the list. And also if you're playing 1v1, A Whole New World resets you and not every single opponent. I guess one opponent as opposed to like the 3 other opponents. So it's a little bit better of a card to play in that. We have 4 Prince Erics, 4 Rajas, just they're great bodyguards, and those were the better bodyguards kind of in that general like 2 to 4 to 5 drop area. And Tiana because she's awesome. Cinderella to go with the glass slippers, and Rapunzel for the healing and drawing cards. I already talked about kind of like the good beefiness of Hercules, and Prince Charming at kind of the higher level slots, plus Cinderella just because she can quest for a lot, take a whole lot of damage, and she's awesome. The removal songs are important in like any game, especially multiplayer, because I have multiple opponents that I'm going to have to take care of. And kind of the Rapunzel's Tower to make myself a little bit safer with that. So that is my deck. That is kind of how I apply a general formula to be able to take these like 100 plus cards I wanted to play and start making eliminations based on like a general math formula. You can see right away I broke my curve rules, but I broke my curve rules because the payoff was there and not somewhere else. So if you have decks that you kind of have been working on, go look at the curve, go figure out if it's mid-range aggro or control deck, figure out where the curve is, and kind of maybe making some of those choices for where your ink should be might help your deck be a little bit more consistent. If you need some advice, go ahead, send me a link. I like editing decks, and I might even put some, if there's anybody who needs help with decks, I might even kind of do a video on how I might edit that. I think that is it for today. So if you want to go grab your sword and shield, polish them up, have your gleaming sword and shield, put on your high heel shoes, and you can go protect your princesses too.